In this video, we will work with the float property. Now, you've already seen an example of the float property at work in this lab where you created this photography page. If you recall, in the header bar, we have this as one column, the nav section as another column, and then this Facebook icon is in its own column. So we have three columns floating side by side. And then also here in the main section, we have this section floating to the left, while this floats to the left also, so they can be side by side. Using the float left or float right declaration along with a width property will allow you to make it to where you can have a multi-column layout. So this is one way for you to create that multi-column look that you want without necessarily messing with the positioning schemes that you learned in the previous videos. When you say float left or float right, it will push the element as far to the left or to the right of its container. And then other content in the containing element will flow around the element with the float property. So even if you place a block element next to a floated element, they will be able to sit side by side. In the HTML file, let's add a new section. Add an article inside that. For H2, it will say float property. In this section, we will create three columns. We will implement those three columns as divs with the class column applied to them. Inside a div, we'll just put a paragraph to label them. For the first one, we'll say column 1. I'll add two more of those. I'll just copy and paste twice. For the second column, I'll make it say column 2 and column 3 for the third one. Save that. In the style sheet, we will create that column selector. Let's make it to where it has a fixed width of 200 pixels, a fixed height of 100 pixels. And we'll add a background color. Let's make that light green to go with my other colors here. Oh, and that reminds me, I used this chocolate background color and then pink for my header and footer, and now I'm using light green. You don't have to use these colors. Feel free to use your favorite colors for this lab. Let's save your style sheet, save your HTML, and let's see what that looks like. Here's our float properties section, and we have three boxes that say column 1, column 2, column 3. However, there's nothing multi-column going on, and that's because these are three different divs, and divs are block level elements, and as block level elements, they will take up the entire width of their container. and their container in this example is article. And when I hover over article using my inspect element, you'll see that article only goes from here to here because we have a 30 pixel padding all around the main section. To make them float side by side, like we did for that Ragus photography page, we will have to make them either float to the left or float to the right. Let's add the float left declaration to our column selector, float left, save, and refresh your page preview. Now you'll notice that they are able to sit side by side now. Here's column 1. It pushed itself as far to the left as its container will allow. Article stops right there, so that's where it went. And then column 2 followed. It went as far to the left as possible, but it stopped right here because column 1 was already there. And then column 3, it went as far to the left as it would go, but it stopped right here because columns 1 and 2 are already here. If you want to add a space between each column, we can go ahead and add a margin to the right or to the left, or both. Let's just make it to where there is a margin to the right. We'll say margin right, 20 pixels, 20 px, save, and refresh. Now we have a 20 pixel margin to the right of column 1, to the right of column 2, and also to the right of column 3. So if I added another column here, it will have another element to the right of column 3, there will be a 20 pixel margin. Now you'll also notice though that these columns are overlapping with the footer section. And that's because when it comes to floated elements, if a containing element only contains floated elements, some browsers will treat it as if it is 0 pixels tall. This portion of this article container, that only contains floated elements because column 1, column 2, and column 3, they are using the column selector, which tells it to float left. These are only floated elements in this portion of the article container. And when I inspect this, article only recognizes the H2 element. Everything else after that, these floated elements, are considered to be 0 pixels tall. And since it's 0 pixels tall, then it just doesn't recognize it. The fix for that is to use the overflow auto declaration in the parent container. That means we'll have to set that for this article. And since I'm already in the HTML, let's go ahead and add the class. We'll call this float fix. Save that. Float fix selector, we will use the overflow auto declaration. Save that, refresh, and now it is no longer overlapping. When you hover over section, it now considers that part of it, even though they're floated elements. Okay, in the next video, we will wrap up Lab 4, Lab 4A.